All right, now we're going to continue on here, and we're going to be looking at Game Zone problem number 2 in Chapter 3 on page 176. It says, computer games often contain different characters or creatures. For example, you might design a game in which alien beings possess specific characteristics such as color, number of eyes, or number of lives. Design a character for a game, creating a class to hold at least 3 attributes for the character. Include methods to get and set each of the character's attributes, and save it as myCharacter.java. So that's what we're going to do first. And we're going to just use what they have here where it says certain characteristics, color, number of eyes, number of lives. Okay, so that's what we're going to create. All right, so let's get started. And they want us to call it myCharacter. Let's copy that. Now, that's not a problem. Absolutely. Yes, even if you're in the classroom, you can connect to me remotely. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. And we're going to kind of use this sandwich thing as kind of a blueprint for our new blueprint. And you know, I'm noticing here that I just said class, and I guess we haven't talked about that very specifically. And really, I should have had public class here, but if you omit that, it's kind of assumed. And so if you're copying me, I apologize for not having it in there previously. But since we're going to kind of replicate this particular structure, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a name change here. I'll put the word public in front of it. I think that's probably more appropriate. And I'm going to do a save as. It'll pick up the name automatically. Now, of course, we're going to be changing all this stuff. So I'm going to start by, I'm just going to put in comment marks just to kind of ignore all of this stuff and work on it little by little. I am going to get rid of the old comments. All right, so we're going to need the information like the book provided. At least 3 attributes. Okay, so color, number of eyes, number of lives. Color. Number of eyes. Let's just call it, that's number of eyes. And, well, actually, that could be a number, right? So that could be an int, right? Makes sense. And number of lives. So that would also be an integer. And I got a really crazy one that we can throw in here. How about something really revolutionary? Name? Maybe the character can have a name. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get rid of color. So the name, the number of eyes, the number of lives. All right, so after a little deliberation, we decided these are the things that we're going to have. So the name, the number of eyes, the number of lives. All right, so for each one of those, we're going to have set and gets. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of move my comment marks here and just kind of use the structure I already have. So let's start with set name. We're passing in. It's a really good question, right? What are we? Yeah, and here's where we have to be a little bit careful because, yeah, I mean, in the other example that we used, Okay, we kind of overwrote it, but if I were to open that up and I put it in documents, so let's see if I can find that here somewhere. Sandwich. The way that we put this together, see, the name of the main ingredient, that's not what we're passing in. This is being passed in from the other program. So this value is going to be the same as what's inside the class. So in other words, this is going to be name. Okay? And maybe what we're passing in is player name. Or maybe character name is better, right? So then here, what we're going to return is name. All right, if we move on to the next one, I'm going to move my comment mark again. This time we're going to be setting number of eyes, right? So we're going to set, and I'm just going to call it eyes. Oh, and I see this is where you got to be careful because I'm like kind of skipping ahead. And that should be name. Set name, get name. So these are all done. Sorry about that. Here, we're going to set eyes. This is going to be a number, which is going to be an integer. And I'm just going to send in eyes. So the number of eyes, which is what I'm using here, that's going to be here. Number of eyes equals eyes. So we did the set, now we need to do the get. So we're going to get eyes, and we're going to return number of eyes. What am I doing wrong? I'm already seeing it. See, I'm sending in a number. Now we're dealing with numbers, but so if we're sending it back, this has to be an int. Right. So now we should be able to get rid of all of our comment marks here. So now we're going to work on number of lives. So we're going to say set lives. So we're going to set lives. That's going to be an int. And I'm going to call it life. Okay, so whatever that's worth. This is going to need to become an int. Okay, so I can't like help but want to think of a pun here, right? So we're getting lives, like get a life, right? Yeah, like I said, not particularly funny, but oh well. All right, that should do it. Nothing really complicated about it. It seems kind of weird as you're putting it together, but really not that weird at all. So set and get for name. And right now I'm just verifying that I have them, right? So set name, get name. I'm making sure that, you know, how we're moving the data around is okay. Set and get eyes. That looks okay. Or set and get eyes, set and get lives. And we should be good. So let's give it a compile. Good. Okay, so that part's done. That's part one. Part two is going to be to write an application in which you create at least 2 characters, in turn, pass each character to a display method that displays the character's attributes. All right. So you see, now we got 2 things going on. So in order for us to do the next part of it, we're kind of reading into it just a little bit. So one thing is we're going to have to create 2 characters. So what we did before when we worked with the sandwich, right, where we created a new sandwich, this time we're going to double that process. So let's just take a look at what we did there. That's always a good way to do new things, is to look at the old things that we've done. They want us to call it 2 characters. So let's do that. I'm going to do a save as here. Okay, so now we have our class. Let's be safe and put our little public thing in there. All right. So here, following this exact syntax, and just keep in mind what I'm going to do here is I'm going to comment this stuff out, and I'm just using it as a guide. So I can look at it and go, aha, that's how I did it. All right. So before we created sandwiches, now we're going to create a character that's going to be based upon this class called myCharacter. So in order to create a character, I call myCharacter, and I'm just going to say, I don't know, character 1. It could be any name we want. Then I'm going to say new myCharacter. All right, and I did 1. Now I'm going to do another. This one I'm going to call character 2. So just by doing these 2 lines, I've created 2 new characters. Both of them will have names, both will have a certain number of eyes, both will have a certain number of lives. Okay? So the next thing I need to do is for each one of them, give them some values. So okay. All right, so let's set these first. So the way that I'm going to do this that makes sense to me is I'm going to say character 1, and then keeping a name, the name of all of these. So set name, get name. So we're going to do set name, set eyes, set lives. Got that? So I don't have to bounce back and forth. Set name. Okay, so how do we do that? Set name, Joe. Character 1. Oops, character 1. Set eyes. How many eyes is it going to have? 3 eyes. Character 1 also has, you usually get like 3 lives in a video game, right? Alright, so that's the first character. Second character, boy, we can just copy that stuff. Make some tweaks, of course, but the same basic thing will be true. The name will be, here, you know what we should do is we should go Kelly and Nancy. Kelly only has 1 eye, so when she says she's got her eye on you, there you go. And because of that, she's got 9 lives, like a cat. All right, so take a look at what I did here, and I'm separating everything out so just so it's very simple to read. So we constructed two new objects, two new instances of a class. This is the class that we're blueprinting from. We gave it a name, and then we said we're making a new one. We set all these different values. We set all these different values. And then we are going to do some output, but that's not going to be right now. So actually we're going to do those in a separate place. I'm actually just going to cut that. So that's the main method, and really I'm just trying to think of like the most efficient way to do this. Oh, okay. Here's how we're going to do it. This is where it gets fun. As if it weren't fun before, now it's really fun. Now this particular method that I'm creating right now is going to just do the displaying. And the logic behind this really is, all right, well, if I want to see who the character is, how many eyes and how many lives they have, I really don't need to write it all separately, so I'll just do it all in one fell swoop. That's really the rationale here. So really, I'm just going to do a system out print line, spelled correctly, and I'm going to say I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. All right, what I'm going to do is I'll type this out first and then tell you what it's doing. I'm hoping that you can kind of figure it out as we go. Now, granted, this should fit on the screen fine when I do the output, but I'm just splitting it right now so you can see it. So let's explain what's happening there. What I basically did is I'm passing in the character. I'm going to pass in the character one by one. I haven't called them yet. I'm going to do that right here. So I'll write the code in just a moment. But when I do call them, you know how usually, like if we're passing in a value, we put in the data type? Because this is an instance of a class, I have to put down the class name that it's built upon. And then I'm just using this generic holder. I mean, I could put anything in that spot. I was thinking character, so I'll use CH because I already did CHAR. And then every time this comes in, this is going to take on the identity of whatever character I'm sending in, and it's going to go get the name and say, Joe has 3 eyes and 10 lives. All right, but I do need to call that, and since I have 2 characters, right, I'm going to say display, which is the name of my method, display character 1, display character 2. I'll just let you look at that for a moment. It's kind of the entirety of the code right there. So we call upon the class we created, give it a new variable or class name. We create a new one. We set all the different values. We create another character, set all the values. Then we display each one. The display method does an output where for each character it gets the name, it gets the eyes, it gets the lives. Mixes it in with some text there and does an output. All right, so with any luck, when I hit save, it'll save. When I compile, all is good. And then I'll pull this up so we can see the output. Oh, okay, so we do have a problem there, don't we? No. Yeah, one of them didn't work. Clearly the Nancy one worked just fine, and I know what happened. Right, well, the problem was that I didn't change the numbers here. All right, so there was no syntax errors, it was just a logic error, so you got to watch that too. Okay, compile's fine, let's run it again. And that's all there is to it. That's kind of the whole point of it. Now, as you're doing this, you might be asking yourself, oh, this is great. What does this mean? Well, what this means is that once you've created a blueprint for something, that you can invoke it when you need and create a new thing based upon the structure of the previous. That's very, very common to do. I mean, we're already using that. Anytime you see like this sort of an approach where we're saying use something or another, we're calling on a class that's already been created to make a new thing. Now, once you have a new thing, then you can do all sorts of stuff with it. These are just the basics. This is like creating it, setting it, getting it, putting it out on the screen, so we're off and running. And that pretty much is all of it tonight, folks. That is Game Zone number 2 for Chapter 3.